Good morning, I'm Sam, and as you can see behind me, we have an MX5. Now, I have not driven one of the modern MX5s, so I reached out to Mazda. They have very kindly delivered me one for a week, but I've not taken it for a drive yet. I haven't really had time, but today we're going to go for a drive. I'm going to give you my thoughts, and I really want to know what it's like. It's a very compelling little package, very reasonably priced. Everyone always says it's a bit of a reference point, so let's have a little look around and take it for a drive. So what do we have here? Well, we have an MX5, obviously, and this is the convertible. You can have it with a fixed roof, and this is the top of the line. So this is the GT Sport Tech. It's about £32,000. Comes with a whole bunch of options, sort of tick boxes and whatnot already checked on this model, and it's kind of maxed out. So immediately obvious things are the 17-inch BBS wheels. They look pretty cool. And then lots of stuff on the interior, just sort of bits here and there that make this package. Let's have a little look inside. Now, in this version, we have these quite nice Napa leather seats, bits and pieces. It's got this, I've just been poking around and it seems like you can sort of move stuff into different places and things. So these are the cup holders. I think you can basically take them out. You can put one down there. I think you can spin them around. So a bit of configurality here in what you can do. But it's a pretty nice place actually. I was pleasantly surprised. And up there is the very simple mechanism for taking off the roof. So let's do that. Now, I think we all love electric roofs. It's very simple, press a button, but this is like a combination that's quite simple. You unlock that, it puts the windows down, and then you basically just push it back. That's it. What an incredibly easy process. And then you just pull this lever here, and then job done. That's so easy. Other notable little bits. Got this sort of carbon effect material. Don't know whether it is carbon or not, but that looks quite cool. This interior actually just looks quite smart. This car has got reversing camera, which is one of the options. I think that's about it. It's a 2-litre, 4-cylinder, 185 brake horsepower, manual gearbox. I think it weighs about 1,050 kilos, so super light these days. And I'm quite excited to see what it's all about. I'll work out in a sec whether we've got CarPlay. Plug a cable in. I've got heated seats, aircon, set the temperature, etc., etc. Start, stop. Nice manual handbrake, which I like. Buttons for the nav system, little sort of storage cubby hole in there. Okay, have a look in the boot. Not massive, but if you got some soft bags in there, you can get quite a lot of stuff. So I'm going to load it up and go for a drive. I love this. When you get in a car, plugged in my phone, CarPlay, come up, yes. Would you like to use wireless CarPlay? Yes, thank you very much. And brilliant, this car costs £32,000. My very expensive Mercedes does not have wireless CarPlay, and it should. But this is great. Things you feel straight away, the steering wheel is really thin, and it's the right size that you can see all the dials. Some modern cars you can't see all the dials, 992 for example. But let's go for a drive. So I don't know if you can hear me because I've got the roof down, but let's do first impressions of driving this car. Well, it's small. It's small. Immediately, it feels light. The engine requires a bit of a rev. I'm just mooching around town. Though it's not the most inspiring sounding engine, but that's sort of what do you expect? It's kind of what it's going to be. Ride quality in town, it's sort of firm. No, not too firm, but I'm feeling little bumps and things in the road. ergonomics and whatnot. I've got my seat set up, I'm nice and close, steering wheel close to me. I really like this. It's possibly even too thin. Now it's not something you generally find in a modern car. The steering wheel is too thin. I quite like it. It's kind of delicate. So I'm guessing that if all things are going to line up, this is going to feel like quite a sort of delicate car to drive and thread down some roads. The gear shift, quite short. It's very close to my hand, which is quite nice. The screen over here with the CarPlay and stuff is very crisp. It feels like a decent resolution, and it's quite responsive, he says, and then he tries to touch it, and it's not touchscreen. It's on a dial, which was the same in my S4, and it's okay. I would rather it was I would rather it was touchscreen, but yet again, this car is not particularly expensive, or it's pretty cheap, to be honest, for modern cars these days. So I guess you win some and lose some. But the resolution is nice, and actually you don't need to press things too often in the car. We're gonna mooch along the motorway, and actually I should probably put the roof up. I will rejoin you when we get some nice roads. We've got some slightly windier roads. This is all quite low speed. And I just wanted to quickly run. You've got to really rev this engine. I wanted to run through some of the spec options that were specifically on this car, as opposed to, let's say, a more base spec MX5. And so, as I mentioned on the walk around, it's got the BBS wheels. So it's kind of, I think with this package, they've gone for all the things you might do down the line if you were going to slightly modify your car. So it's got a diff, it's got Bilstein suspension, like just a few little bits to make it a bit sharper. It takes a little bit of while to get used to revving it, and you've really got to rev it. So from like 2, 3, it doesn't pull, but I need to clear some cars in front, then push on, and then I will come back. A few more things I've picked up. Sound system, very good. Seat heaters, I don't know whether the sort of base car comes with seat heaters, but this car has them. And I think they are essential in a convertible for enjoying that experience. And what have I learned so far about driving? Super light car. On the way here, I've had a little bit of windy roads, but not very much. And I've done average 43 mpg. You carry a bit of speed into the corner and give it a bit of gas. There's not a lot of weight over the back, which is actually where you're sitting. I've not driven many small, what are there, front engine rear wheel drive cars that are small and light. Stuff like the A12 and whatever is such a big car, heavy car. This is it's much more compact experience. And when you get up it, so immediately, I was down here the other day in my E63, and this is obviously, not necessarily obviously, but a lot more fun. And I don't have the engine noise or anywhere near the power or even the performance, but I'm having more fun. And I'm just kind of, a huge part of that is the roof down experience. And I'm not, massively at the edge of adhesion or anything like that, but at the sort of, 75%, you're having fun. You're not mooching along, you're progressing along nicely. Sort of a bit too dark actually for sunglasses, so that's reduced my driving speed down to not a lot. But yeah, it's putting a smile on my face, and it's putting a smile on my face in all of the things that are not what's necessarily super expensive about a car. So the engine, it's providing a good experience, but it's not providing like an exceptional soundtrack or anything like that. It's just kind of like effective, and it is quite revvy. And actually, the distance between the gear shift and the steering wheel is really short. So that's really nice. Just like boom, 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 boom. You feel compact. You're just kind of ripping along. And I know I'm having fun. I think I might even have to pull over because this guy is not going to get out of my way at all. let's get it up the revs a bit. Brake pedal and throttle pedal in terms of distance to each other are spot on. You can just very easily roll from one to the other. So if I get on the brakes, blip down, absolutely no problem. I'd love it if people stayed on their side of the road. That would be nice, wouldn't it? I don't think I would be having anywhere near as much fun in an automatic, but I can see why people choose autos, and I own some autos, so fine. I think for me, a little car like this, and actually being in a little car like this, when you go past other cars on small roads, it's not quite as, you don't tense as much. It's almost a more sort of luxurious experience, and you can have a bit more fun. Let's go down this compression. Yeah, the suspension is coping with this really well. Normally with uprated suspension, it's often really quite stiff. And this is not at all. This just is dealing with all of the bumps. You've got a little bump here and the car just kind of mooches along, goes along, okay. It's quite a challenging bit of road, this. And we're not going that fast. I'm not speeding, I'm sort of driving a little bit quickly, but I'm just enjoying things with the roof down. It does make me want a convertible, just for this sort of thing. And a light car is a bit more fun, isn't it? You can't buy a car that's around 1,000 kilos these days, and 185 horsepower in 1,000 kilos is a reasonable amount. You've got to really rev it. And then actually it sounds quite good. And it has some urgency to it. But the more I sort of work the gearbox and get used to it, oh, it's a joy to use. It is very much a joy to use. I'm going to pull over in a second. Now, been for a bit of a quicker drive in the MX5, and unsurprisingly, it's getting a bit repetitive really. I've got a bit of a smile on my face. The lightness of the car, comparing to my E63 not that long ago coming down here, this is so much more fun. You really have to rev the engine, which in sort of fast road driving, unless you're really on it, I don't think you really appreciate, because you've got to be so up it to get the performance. And now let's get back in the car, go for a bit more of a drive. I'm probably going to put the roof up and see what that's like. There we go. Such a simple process. Okay, we've got the roof up. Let's go for a little bit of a rip. Having the roof on actually makes the car feel much smaller, because you've obviously lost a lot of headspace, but also you have this black interior, and I'm sat quite close. I like sitting quite close, and well, it's much more refined in here. I'm probably over shifting because I like shifting, so I'm in sixth at 40 miles an hour. But having something to do with your feet just makes such a difference. Like, the synchronizing of all of the things, and that is something actually that Mazda, I think, have always done very well, is the gearbox, pedal, everything, really, you gel with it so quickly, and then it becomes very rewarding to drive. I could have one of these, no problem. I'd love to take one of these on track and push the grip and sort of over grip. It's a new phrase I've come across recently. Now, the amount of smiles I'm getting are actually a lot less with the roof on, which is kind of interesting. I know that I have more fun with the roof down, because you're out in the air, everything feels quicker, You don't have to be going so fast to feel like you're going fast. All of those things. But I never really thought about it back to back with having the roof off, similar road, roof back on, similar road. And yeah, I think for sporty driving on the public road, a roof down just adds so much to the experience. So much. And lots of cars you can't get with no roof. It's a learning experience, this. And my feet are enjoying very much blipping the throttle, giving it some beans, and pressing on in a little lightweight car in the countryside. Okay, apologies, this is going to sound awful in terms of audio quality because we've just come onto the worst section of the M25. It just so happens to be on my way back home, but it sort of highlights one of the things I want to talk about. This car versus, let's say, a Boxster. What are the things you get when you spend that bit more money? Now, I think this is incredibly fun, and I think a lot of the things that you get in this and that keep it so light, you can't get that weight back in other ways of like tech and stuff. Like, if your car weighs 1,000 kilos, 1,050 kilos, a car that weighs 1,300 kilos is not going to feel the same. But the things that I think you get a bit more is like the gear shift, for example. This is fun and it's good, but it doesn't feel as solid and as refined as when you spend a chunk more money on the same things. Now, that shouldn't be surprising. And then things like fit and finish in the interior. This interior, I would say, is actually pretty nice. And in this version, with the leather bits and whatnot, and the body painted panels here, I think it's nice. It's sort of as you'd expect at this sort of price point, but it's a very nice place, and I wouldn't have any issue with, let's say, owning this car because of the interior. I think it's nice. Well, there we have it. That concludes my drive in the Mazda GT Sport Tech. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot more fun with the roof down than the roof up, and it's made me sort of reappreciate having a light car makes such a difference. And I think this particular one, with all of the updates, so the wheels, suspension, diff, etc., really add to the package. It says, having not driven the other one, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and I think I would totally have one of these for ripping around, and it just fits small roads so well. So thank you very much, Mazda, for lending me the car, and I'll see you guys in the next video.